Okay, hi everyone. Sharon Nichols here from Driftwood Blue Floral and Events, and coordinator for the Wedding Industry Supplier Network Group, Twizen. We're here interviewing today Louise Neagle from Maydennison Cakes and Crafts. So part of what we do for the Twizen group, we're located in Brisbane North, and what we do for our group is to provide some support and connection and collaboration opportunities for businesses who are in the wedding industry and are looking to collaborate with some other suppliers, get to know some suppliers in their area, and really, find a support network for their business at whatever stage of business they're in, whether they're just starting out, looking for key learning areas. There's a lot of online resources available through our Twizen group. It is part of a global group, so it's a UK-based group that has over, I think, 7,000 members in the UK, and the purposes of this group really is to provide that support and connection for wedding businesses. And it started to venture out in Australia last year and in March, and then in May they were looking for some regional coordinators to manage the group as a coordinator to organise guest speakers and events for the group. So that really gives a rounded introduction, I guess, to the group. The purpose of our interview today with Louise is Louise is part of our group, and what we're doing at the moment is, given the current situation with the COVID-19 that we're all experiencing, our lockdowns and restrictions, we can't get together in the normal format, as in once a month. They are held online now via Zoom, but I've put it out to the group to help everyone get to know each other on a different level, and decided that conducting some interviews with some of the suppliers would be an awesome way to showcase their business, and for them to give a little information and share a bit about them. So Louise has put her hand up to have a chat with me, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to having a chat with Louise about what her business is, how it started, how she's faring at the moment with all the restrictions going on, and what she loves about her business. So hi Louise.
Hi.
We've had a little bit of a discussion just before we jumped on. I haven't met Louise before, so it was a really good chance for me to say hi and introduce myself. So Louise, did you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi everybody, I'm Louise. My business is Maydennison Cakes and Crafts. Sharon was going to ask me about the originality of the name, so if that's all right, I'll go ahead with that one. Maydennison is a combination of my children's names. So I have 3 adult children, Maxine, Hayden and Madison. So I combined their names, and when I spelt it out to my daughter, all of 30 years old, says, "Mummy, you have to put another N in there for Dennis, because Dennis is my husband." So we incorporated him too, and actually then I added up all the letters in Maydennison Cakes and Crafts, and it came to 25, which reduces to 7, which is my life number. So if you're into all that sort of stuff, then you'll understand how poignant that is to me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Meaningful it is. Yeah. So,
fabulous. And you specialise in mainly fondant cakes with fruits and mud cakes and things like that?
I do, yes. Just doing buttercreams, it's just too iffy. It's, especially with our climate. I mean, I deliver cakes, sometimes it's still 36 degrees. And if you've got to travel with a cake 200 kilometres, it's just too much of a risk that things are going to happen. And yeah, I didn't start this to work with buttercream. I started it to work with fondant. So as they say, go on as you continue as you mean to go on. that sort of thing.
Absolutely. You know, if you have a niche, just stick to the niche. To be amazing at what you do. Not everyone goes for the buttercream, and if you can be amazing with producing fondant decorated cakes, and your business is, you know, is going really, really well. So, you have a unique value proposition for people looking for fondant decorated cakes, and there are people who are looking for the buttercream. So, you know, the semi-naked or whatever you call it was quite a big trend happening last year.
Still is. It still is, and I think it's going to be for a while. But quite often I'll explain to brides why I won't do them, and they'll say to me, you know what, I've never considered those facts. And sometimes I can actually then convince them to have a fondant cake, and we can make it look that bit rustic if that's what they want. And as I always say, it's there to protect your cake. It does not have to be eaten.
Yeah, absolutely. I know with my fresh flowers, when I've got a 4-hour trip just to go to my suppliers, I spend probably an hour selecting, and then I've got to get them home. So they've got to be in that cool, air conditioned. I can't stop anywhere for anything. Doesn't matter what it is. They cannot be, you know, out of that cool environment. And certainly with the buttercream slip, slop and sliding away on a 200-kilometre trip is not, it's scary, because you've got the one cake and you're delivering the one cake, and, you know, you've got to make sure that that's going to get there.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's been days where we've had the air conditioner put on the lower setting in the front of the car, and we've had jumpers on a 35-degree day because the cake's in the back and we need the cold air to get into the back. So, but it's what you do. It's what you do. So, yep.
Exactly. And it may, you know, getting it to the back is a whole other story, because it's not going to be the same temperature in the front that it is in the back. So yeah, you've got to crank it. So now, you have an interesting story. Actually, I had a look at your a bit of your story on your Facebook page. Had a bit of a squiz at that. And your grandmother was a baker.
She was. She actually worked in hospitals and on cattle stations, so she was used to cooking for the masses. And for as long as I can remember, and to her dying days, she only ever used a wood stove. Wow. And she lived on the edge of a gully up in far north Queensland, where it rained a lot, where the humidity was unbelievable. Wow. And she would do these beautifully decorated cakes with lacework, and I remember, as a child, she would have the heat lamps on these cakes to keep them dry. And
wow.
What
she would have had to go through to keep it, you know, at that temperature. And wow.
And then her house was at the end of a 1 kilometre dirt road. And then from there into town, there was probably about 20 kilometres of single lane, really hilly, windy road.
There is a venue up here like that called Ocean View Estates, and it is a windy road. And I know a lot of cake makers who don't like that trip up to Ocean View. It's I've had a lot of people say, I'm not looking forward to the trip because they have to go so slow.
Yeah, been there. Oh, I haven't been there, but similar. Yeah, I know what it's like.
yeah. And is that one of the reasons why you decided to become to get into this industry and become a cake maker in your own right?
Actually, it's not. It's but Granny used to always say to me, Louise, you should be in business, from the earliest I can remember. And I used to think, well, I've got no idea what I want to do. And what happened was, in the end of 2013, one of my children ordered a cake from a professional cake decorator in Brisbane. And I attended this event. And I remember looking at the cake thinking, wow, you know, I couldn't, you know, make something that looked that great. And they said, oh, you know, we've got 3 different flavours, you know. So I couldn't wait to tuck in. And as I say to this day, I've eaten cardboard that tasted better. So I said to my son, look, mate, I couldn't have made you a cake that looked that good. but I can make you one that tastes a lot better. And that's why I started this. I thought, right, my children are going to start getting married. They're going to be having children. There's going to be, you know, really important milestones in their lives coming up. And I want them to have something that, you know, they can be proud of. Yeah. So they say that there's this joke amongst cake decorators that you don't just wake up one morning and decide to be a cake decorator. Well, I did. So jumped on the internet one morning to find a local teacher, found the wonderful Mary Reid up at Highfields, booked in for my beginner's class, and as they say, the rest is history.
Wow.
She's been a wonderful support, friend, and still is. So.
That's amazing. What a lovely story. I can totally relate, because I have been to some birthday parties with my kids, and these amazing looking cakes come out. Like, I've never bought one. I've always made one for my kids, and I've, you know, decorated it, and I made an ice cream cake once, and it looked actually quite good and it tasted good, but some of these other cakes were horrendous. Like, they looked amazing, and, you know, the detail, but on eating it was just no. Everything else just fell away. How good it looked beforehand didn't matter. It tasted awful.
I actually recently booked a couple, and they were actually more interested in the taste than the look of the cake, and that's what they actually told me. Price point wasn't applicable, and they had been to numerous taste testings before me. They still had some to go. They came to see me on a Wednesday. They said that they would let me definitely know the following Wednesday. By the Sunday morning, they said, pencil us in. 10:30 the following Wednesday morning, they said, we're booking you.
Wow.
And I think they had taste tested pretty much every cake decorator between Toowoomba and Brisbane.
Wow, there you go. That says a whole lot about how amazing your cakes must taste.
I do put a lot of love and time.
That must have made you feel pretty good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Isn't it good when, you know, you get that feedback from clients and they really value what you do, and they really appreciate all the effort and the love and attention that you put into them. And it gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling, and you go, yes, I'm in the right place. This is where I feel like I should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, you're talking about clients. How many meetings generally do you need before the wedding? Is that first consultation? Are there any additional meetings that you generally have, or is that pretty much, I've booked you in, you know what you need to do?
Usually pretty much. You know, I offer a complimentary consultation, taste testing, design service all in one. Usually takes about an hour. I don't time limit them, so I have had couples here for up to 2.5 hours. I don't care if they want to bring along the kids, you know, sometimes I want to bring parents, maybe another couple as support, you know, I really don't mind.
Yeah.
And we usually nut everything out in that session. Usually the only other time I see them is if they specifically want a topper added. They will drop that in a couple of weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
But a lot of my couples don't even meet me. They are really happy to go off the reviews and, you know, word of mouth, that sort of thing. So it's all done by email or messenger, and I'm booked in, and yep.
That's really good, because you can certainly get carried away with spending all this time with clients. I do complimentary consults as well, and we just get so enwrapped in the discussions and the conversations, and the next minute, you know, is like an hour and a half's gone, and you think, oh, here we go, like I need to be keeping my consults to 30 minutes, but it's too hard to do because everyone's so excited and talking about so many things. Yeah. It's a really exciting time, especially with the cake. That's a huge part of everything.
It is. Yeah.
How are you faring at the moment with everything, as with your bookings and things like that? How have you been affected? You know, obviously there's been a lot of weddings pushed back rescheduled, postponed? What are you doing outside of those? I mean, obviously you would provide other types of celebratory cakes, and you've probably still got that kind of thing going on. How are you
I
managing?
do. I do, but with the restrictions, even a lot of birthday cakes have been cancelled. So pretty much my diary, I've still got one booking showing up in July. It's actually daughter of a best friend. They just have not made the decision yet. We're fully
Ah,
expecting that, but yeah, right through even October weddings are moving to next year. I've only actually had two weddings cancel. One bride said she was just so stressed out by the virus, she just couldn't even think wedding. But that's all right. These things happen. Most have postponed, so next year is absolutely looking manic.
yeah.
In fact, I'm actually fully booked for 1 week in October next year already. But other than that, the diary's dead. A lot of people are diversifying. They're making other stuff. A lot of people are offering dead set cheap product.
Yeah.
I won't cheapen my product. I won't cheapen my business name by doing that. I'd rather not work. In addition to that, my elderly father came into our care at the beginning of March. Sad set of circumstances in his life. He now requires 24/7 care, and so he's with us. That also requires a lot of paperwork. And so basically, look, I've got to look at the positives of this, because that now gives me the time to do all that paperwork and set up what I need, so that in the future I've got the care while I'm busy with cakes and that sort of thing. So you've got to look at the positives.
Absolutely. There are a lot of positives that we can take out of this situation. Like for me, for example, I'd be slammed, getting styling and flowers and everything. And, you know, there's things that I still hadn't organized for my business, you know, packages that I said I would, you know, get sorted, supply collaborations, website updates, Pinterest, getting on top of Pinterest, you know, getting on top of my Insta account. There's a whole lot of stuff that we can, we have the time now. I mean, I've got to get on my box of receipts. It's there over there somewhere. And it's, you know, massive. So it's going to give me time to sort of get my business in the best possible state, ready for when this is going to come back on again. So we all know that 2021 is already going to be massive, because we've got everyone who was going to get married this year move to next year. You've got all the engaged couples who want to get their date for 2021. So there's going to be more booking requirements, more jobs, more opportunity next year. And the better sort of we are in getting ourselves in better positioned for that, with everything else that's going on in our lives, then yeah, I think if we can try and look on and focus on those positives, then the situation as it is, I'm lucky because I've got a husband who's a school teacher as well. So we are on that single income. It's not great, but at least we have a single income coming in as an essential service. So, and I'm not homeschooling at the moment, which is awesome because the kids are going to school with their dad. So I'm just so grateful. How are you going with that?
I don't have to deal with homeschooling.
No?
I'm actually a grandmother.
Yeah.
Grandmother of two. So, and look, we have other incomes. So, yeah, caking is really a lifestyle job for me, which is I get to do it from home. I get to pick and choose my clients. I get to deal with very few people, which I really like.
And you get to do something that you absolutely love. So, like, that's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of cake decorators, they like the baking, they don't like the decorating, or they like the decorating, they don't like the baking. I happen to love both. And, you know, quite often, you know, I get the cake to the covered in fondant stage, and I forget that I almost forget that there's a cake inside, because all I see is a blank canvas, and it's like, oh, the artist in me takes over, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, let's make this pretty. And
Yeah. Yeah. And do you ever find that you struggle to stop, you know, like when you're creating an artwork and you're like, oh, just one more decoration,
yeah,
one more of this, one more of that? Do you find that, you know?
no, it's more of a case of, it needs something and I can't put my finger on it. And this is where I'm blessed to have a husband who's not only supportive, but he's got a really creative eye as well. And I'll say, honey, what does this need? And he'll walk into the room with absolutely fresh eyes, having not seen the cake, and he'll go, it needs a gold ribbon on the board, or it needs another flower here, or, you know?
Yeah,
And
that's great.
And he just, you know, or I'll say to him, look, the design is supposed to be this. I think it's going to be too much. What do you think? And he'll say, yeah, absolutely, don't do it. And, you know, and my couples are great. They do give me permission to change the designs, you know, if I can see it's not working. And sometimes I can tell at the consultation that what they're proposing isn't going to work, but I sort of need to actually see it in the flesh.
Yeah.
And I'll go, yeah, no, that isn't going to work. And I'll, you know, give them a quick buzz and say, look, okay, if I make a slight design change to,
Yeah.
and, you know, they're great.
Has anyone given you like a free for all? Like, as in, yeah, as in I want you to design my cake for me. I don't have an inspirational picture that I want you to work from. Wow.
One of my very earliest wedding cakes I did, a school friend of mine approached me. Both her daughter and the husband-to-be were in the UK at the time. She gave me these little Minnie and Mickey toppers. She said they don't have to go on the top of the cake. They can go anywhere you like. She said their colours are white, silver, and royal purple. She said, you've got free reign on the cake. She said, but they are both animators. And I went, oh, I've got just the cake. So I did my first topsy-turvy cake.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And yeah.
Well, you'll have to share that to the group when you find a picture, and you'll have to pop that into the group to show us all your topsy. Would you have a picture of that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I actually, my husband, I don't know if you saw my comment in the feed about an elderflower flavour. That would be my absolute choice, because I love elderflower. And back 12 years ago, I didn't even know what elderflower was. And I gave my husband the honour of choosing the cake and who made it and what the flavour was, and it was just horrible.
Oh, that's a shame.
It was horrible. It was a caramel mud cake, and mud cake just it sits like this was, and it was like a brick. This thing was, and we served it as dessert. So no one took it out of the fridge to let it rest. So when it was, it was horrible. So yeah, if I was to ever have the option, it would be elderflower all the way. So I just love that citrusy, you know, those sort of flavors, but not being orange or lemon. It's kind of in the middle, isn't it?
Well, I do an elderflower and lemon, and that came about because that's what Harry and Meghan had. And I thought, oh, that sounds like an interesting flavour. So I set out to, you know, source the flavouring and give it a go. And that has probably become my biggest seller now.
Yeah. And what sort of butter do you put cream with it? Like what goes in the filling?
Oh, I do a elderflower and lemon flavoured Swiss meringue buttercream.
Oh my gosh, I'm just salivating right now.
It's to die for. When I was at the development stage of this new flavour, I had a girlfriend around and did up cupcakes and did up the flavoured buttercream, and I bit into mine and went, oh my God, this is amazing. And you can talk about your own cooking like that.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I know what that's like when you're actually you whip something up and you're just like, this is heaven. Like, and for me, it's something that I've cooked in the kitchen, not necessarily a sweet treat, but you know, a quick meal. And it's just like, oh, this is just flavor bomb. But elderflower and lemon, oh, that sounds so delicious. What are your three is it one of your three favorite flavors, or
It
what are
is.
your, yeah?
That one, lime coconut, anything lime coconut.
Like pina
I
colada?
absolutely love. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be the one. Actually, I do a peanut. That's a pineapple and coconut. I do a pina colada flavored cake.
Wow.
Yep. And red velvet. A lot of people request it, and not really knowing what it wants, what it's the original flavour is like. A lot of what you buy in the shops is there's no really polite way to put it.
Not very good.
It's a bastardized mud cake, basically.
Yeah.
And that's not what red velvet is. So I do the traditional, but I tweak it a little bit.
Twerk.
So that it twerk it.
So can you explain what the real red velvet should taste like? Is there a way to describe it?
Okay, it's a real something nothing. There isn't enough vanilla in it to be vanilla. There's not enough chocolate in it to be chocolate. Traditionally, the red flavouring comes from a chemical reaction, and in America they often do it with beetroot juice. So if I actually went right into the history of red velvet when I was doing this. So what I do is give mine a little bit of raspberry flavouring, just to give it that, so that it does have something
of flavour, something definitive.
Yep. But the velvet comes from the texture.
Yeah.
So
wow.
So I just make sure when people are requesting it that they sort of aren't expecting a red mud cake.
Yeah.
That's what I make.
Yeah. And for me, I can't eat a lot of cake because my stomach doesn't do well with cake at all. So I've got to steer clear of anything that's, you know, heavy mud cakes or ganache cakes, or it's got to be good. For me to eat cake, it has to be good. Apart from the calorie.
My mud cakes aren't heavy.
Yeah, I've heard that, and especially when you're considering the calorie intake of some of the cakes, you got to like, this has got to be worth the calories I'm just about to put in my mouth here.
Totally understand.
I would love to get the chance to taste some of your cakes. Pity you're all the way over the other side of the city.
Oh, you know, look, come for a drive into the country. And let me know you're coming, and I'll make you a cup of tea.
Yeah, when the 50-kilometre thing gets lifted, I might have to come and see you. We'll organise a meet.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, there's plenty of time to do that now, so you can get out and meet a few people and come down your way. So that'd be nice. So with everything going on, so do you feel fairly positive about the future?
If you'd asked me at 8 o'clock last night, I would have said absolutely not. Look, I think we have to. You know, there's people out there, they're still getting married, they're still having babies. The world goes on. We're not under martial law. We haven't got a world war happening. We're not in recession.
We've just got to.
We have to.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got to be positive for our clients too. You know, we've got to show some empathy to them. You know, they've spent a lot of time and energy on this, and I try and say to them, look, if you're putting it off for 12 months or 6 months, you know, that gives you that little bit of extra time to save, you know, for the videographer you couldn't afford before, or for an extra hour of photography, or, you know, or maybe now you can have your canapes as well. You know, there's got to be some good to come out of it. So
absolutely. And you know, I've said for my couples, just do not let the date that you originally had planned for the past 12 months, 2 years, just fly by and not do anything to celebrate it, because you will look back on that date and have a fairly negative feeling towards that date, because you would always feel like that date had been taken away from you. So
Absolutely.
do something to celebrate. Be romantic. I'm offering romance packages for the night that should have been. There are other people that are offering those types of services as well. But I really feel for my clients, because, like I said, they've been planning for so long, and I know how stressful it is, because, you know, we've been married, right? So how stressful, how involved, how many meetings and meetings, and you know, how many hours they would have spent researching their styling, and it's just a real letdown.
And money that, you know, they've paid for save the date things. You know, some have already sent invitations. You know, there's a whole lot of stuff with dates on it, and it's, so the decision is, you know, whether they print that sort of, reprint it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I'm not charging any extra to move dates, or
Yeah, I'm not either.
you know, so basically if they've booked in at this year's price and they've changed it to next year, I'm not changing the price. They've got enough else to deal with.
Yeah.
So
what I'm potentially a little bit concerned about, I mean, I don't know whether if it's going to happen or not, but you know, 6 months, I've still got some clients that are still holding on for those dates for September and October and November this year. With the way that things are going, that may actually happen. Who knows? You know, they might lift it back to the minimum 50 or the minimum 100, where we started way back, you know, a month or two ago. But then there's those original couples are they going to want to come back to us and try and book their original 2020? Do you know what I mean? So that is going to be a lot really guided by the venues, guided by, you know, I'm kind of anticipating that to happen, because I don't know whether it will or not, but it's something that's sort of sitting in the back of my head. But if people are kind of thinking about that, I think we just need to try and remain cautious, because things like this can just flip in a matter of, you know, days, weeks. It only takes the tiniest thing to happen, and then, you know, we're back where we started. So what's your take on that, do you think?
I think if they've moved, they'll probably stick with their new dates. I had one of my April couples move to the 10th of October, and as I said to her, you would have to have chosen the most sought after date, and I already had 2 bookings in, but I absolutely wanted to do her cake design.
Yeah.
So I said, you know, I said I would fit it in, even though it sort of meant a delivery in Brisbane, then a delivery in Toowoomba, then one at Dora Downs on the same day. Who needs sleep, right?
Yeah.
And,
wow.
No, I only take on what I know I can manage.
Yeah.
And then so I booked her in, and then a following week, one of the brides from that date booked for next year, so moved hers. So I was down to 2 for that date. So I don't know. I think if they've moved their dates, they won't be moving them back.
Yeah, they probably should. It will be a nightmare, right? Logistically, it would just be a nightmare. I think if people are if it does open up a little bit and people are thinking about whether or not they do that, yeah, for me, I think recommendations would be as well to stick with your original rescheduled date. But, you know, if there are specific reasons why you'd want to kind of go back to your original, it all has to be taken on when and if that may happen, and on sort of case by case basis, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and it's just being open to what they want to do. You know, I mean, I've had brides even decide their wedding date around my availability. So, you know, that's a huge honour. I mean, it's a huge honour. That's massive.
Yeah.
It is. You know, it's like we're getting married. What dates are you available?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, and it's happened 3 times now. So it's yeah,
that is a huge feather in your cap. Absolutely.
That is. Yeah.
Well done. Congratulations. Oh,
So
well, I
yes,
think that's all about we have enough time for today. The time has just gotten on, as where I was sort of talking about before. Sometimes when you get into conversations about these kinds of things, the time flies. But look, it was a very, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me today. It was really fun. And
not a problem.
I'm really glad to have met you, and I'll certainly be organising a catch up down there where you are in the near future, and I hope to see you soon. So thanks everyone. So Louise Neagle from Maydennison Cakes and Crafts, and I'm Sharon Nichols from Driftwood Blue Floral and Events. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.